going on, guys? Got another project out the shop tonight. This is a machining project. Got some bushings here. The customer brought us some UHMW. If you don't know what UHMW is, it is a kind of plastic that is pretty dense, but it's also got a softness about it. So they want us to machine 2 of these bushings out of this UHMW. I've actually machined quite a bit of stuff out of this UHMW. We're going to get it over the lathe and get it chucked up and see if we can't get these knocked out. Okay, so one thing we want to pay attention to on this bushing, I've noticed that there is a radius on this edge. So I am going to have to order a tool. I believe that's an 1/8 inch radius tool to round that corner, because I'm assuming that is factory and needs to be there. And then you can see it's got a counter bore here, inside here, and that's 13/16, and then a 1/2 inch center hole going through the middle. And then you can see there's a step on the back, a shoulder. It's got some intricacies to it, but it shouldn't take us too long. It'll take longer for us to get the tooling here to finish it than it will to just knock them out. So I do have to order the radius tool so that I can finish it. So we'll see if we can't get the main body of this machined. We'll be able to bore the center. We'll be able to get this shoulder done. We should be able to bore the center and get this shoulder done, and that'll be it until we get our tooling. So let's see what we can do. So now that we've got our material faced off here, we're going to go ahead and grab a drill bit. We're going to punch our center hole and bore it clear through. Okay, so this is just a 1/2 inch drill bit here. So one of the cool things about it is it's very soft, obviously, compared to steel, but you can machine it pretty quick. Okay, so now that we've got that done, I think we're going to do our shoulder here. First I'm going to take a measurement. Okay, little update here. We got some toolage. This is what we were waiting for to get the UHMW bushings done. This is a 2-flute end mill, and we needed that to get our counter bore done. So we've got it now. So we're going to take this over to the mill. We're going to see if we can't get this done. We've got 2 of these to do, but there's not a whole lot of time left in them. Okay, we are going to get our major diameter done first. We just need to figure out what measurement this is. Looks like 1.067. We're going to take 100 thou, because this stuff's really soft and it should machine pretty good. So we should be good on length there. We could take another 100 thou, but I am going to trade tools out. I think this one will do a little better job. Everything on this. Okay, you can see it kind of machines weird. 15,000. Weird. When you take a really fine cut, it almost turns to like cotton. I'll make sure and clean the bed out after we're done with this. Right on the money. Okay, so our OD's good there. Now we're going to counterbore it with the end mill. So we'll counterbore that, and then we got to radius this lip, because I think, pretty sure that's got to be there. So we're going to get the end mill put in. Okay, so we went ahead and got the chuck set up. Put that in our tailstock. And then this is probably not in your machinist handbook. We just went ahead and stuck the end mill in the drill chuck. For what we're doing, it works just fine. For just a simple counter bore in something like UHMW that's really soft. Okay, so you can see I adjusted the speed on the lathe there, and then I was just using my calipers to check the depth. Took me 2 or 3 times to finally get the depth right. Okay, so then all that was left to do was to go ahead and machine the second one. So you can see we just went ahead and put it in warp mode, and you'll see me go through this one pretty quick. I always think it's kind of interesting how the camera makes it look like the chuck's hardly spinning. You can see I used my dial indicator here so that I was sure to get the right amount of feed. That's another thing you can do if your DRO is not working.
It's time for today's super cool tool.
Alright guys, so for today's super cool tool, we're going to be talking this little reamer. So these little reamers, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these. That right there is a very handy tool for fabricators. The things that I like about this tool are it's got a free spinning little reamer on the end of it, and so it's very good for deburring things like tube or pipe, and you can deburr the inside or the outside. It does do a better job on the inside, in my opinion. This one here has a knurled handle. The body is aluminum. That's one of the reasons I chose this one. I have had the plastic ones before, and I've broken several of the plastic ones before. This one here will hold up to the abuse of, you know, if you happen to drop it or something like that. So that's one of the things I like about it. It's been a really quality tool for me. I got this one off of Amazon. AFA Tools is the brand. AFA Tools. It's been a good tool. The other thing that I like about it is when I bought it, this one did come with a box of spare blades. So it came with 10 spare blades, and it comes in a nice little case there. Okay, so here's a piece of scrap that I got out of the scrap bucket, but it's got a dandy little burr on it, you can see there. And that's on the outside. So what you can do is you take this, and this is just how I like to do it, and drag it. And if you go around the whole thing, you can see it just knocks that burr off. And then on the inside, this one still has quite a burr on the inside. This is where it really shines. So you just take, you want to put some outward force on it the whole way around. And it just pulls a nice smooth burr off of there. And the whole time I was doing that, that's the burr right there. It just cuts a nice smooth burr off of there. And it kind of chamfers the inside. Hopefully you can see that, but it does a really good job. That's a tool right there that anybody can own. Like I said, some are probably better than others, but that is a very handy tool. Makes a fabricator's life a lot easier. It's also one of those tools where it will make you a better fabricator because it makes your work look better. And in the end, that's what we all want, right? So that's going to be today's super cool tool. Go out and get you one of these little reamers, clean up your work, and make yourself a better fabricator. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so there's our bushings. Complete. This one's a little bit rough on the lip on the inside, but that stuff's kind of hard to machine. You gotta have the speed on the lathe just right. I think it did a little bit better with like a medium speed, right around 400. There was the old one. So out with the old, in with the new. Alright guys, I've got another little project here I gotta try to get done. So there's a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a break in between jobs, which sometimes I don't mind that. It's nice to be able to catch up on some stuff that you need to do, maintenance around the shop, stuff like that. So I do have a project that I've been meaning to do for the last few weeks. I have not been able to get that done due to being so busy. So tonight, I'm going to see if I can't get it knocked out. So what I got is right here on the bandsaw, the hand wheel that tightens the clamp. It was supposed to have one of the little handles on it. You can see that there is a 3/8 nut that is bonded into that plastic. So what I'm going to do is tonight I would like to try to machine a handle for this. See if I can't get it knocked out. It shouldn't take too long. The only thing that may slow it down is I might want to put my own little spin on it. So we're going to go over to the lathe. I've got a piece of 1-inch hot rolled that I'm going to machine it out of. Nothing fancy, but it'll do just fine for what we're using it for. So I'm going to go ahead and get that piece. We'll get it chucked up and see if we can't get machining. Okay, so we're over here at the lathe. We're just getting ready to get our tooling set up. And if you look here, so right here on our tooling, I've already got this one loose, but I've got a chip on the end of my insert there. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this so that I have a fresh edge on that. I'm going to take it and rotate it, but I want to show you guys a little trick. I loosen this one. Okay, flip it out of the way. Well, I've got to get that set screw loose. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but it's jam-packed full of crap. So what I like to do is I'll take some brake clean, and if you shoot that, I don't know if you can see that, but now it's nice and clean. So now I can take my Allen wrench and get it in there and go ahead and loosen that. Anyway, that's just one of those tips that make your life a little easier instead of having to use a pick to dig all the chips out, all the dirt out, or whatever it is that's jammed in there. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and face this off real quick. Okay, we got this all faced off. Now I'm going to go ahead, center drill this, and then I think we're going to go ahead and drill our 3/8 hole. I'm thinking if the handle's about 3.5 inches long, that's about perfect. It'll have to screw into the handle over there about 1/2 inch, and it's going to be countersunk about 3/8. So if I get a 4.5 inch bolt, I think that'll be about perfect. So that's the plan. So we're going to go ahead and center drill this now. Okay, so now we got our 3/8 drill bit, and we're going to have to sink this as deep as we can, so this might be a little time consuming. I am going to slow the lathe down. Okay, so we're starting to get to the point now where we want to be really careful because we've ran out of flute on our drill bit, and so we need to clear the chips a lot more frequently. If we don't, we can snap that bit off and then we're up a creek without a paddle. So we're just going to go nice and slow. As soon as I start seeing chips, or if I feel like it's starting to bind up, I will back out and clear the chips. Okay, so it feels like it's starting to get tight, so then I'll take and just pull that out, clear the chips, oil it back up. You always want to go slow when you go back into the cut. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to counterbore this so the head of the bolt is countersunk and sits down inside there. So I'll be using a 3/8 bolt. That's going to take a 9/16 socket. So I need to make sure that I countersink that wide enough that I can fit a socket in there to tighten it up. Okay, so we're right in between sizes. It's right between 3/4 and 13/16. So obviously we're going to go 13/16. So I'm going to put my 2 flute 13/16 end mill in my chuck here, and I'm going to counterbore that. And I'm just going to go the thickness of the head. So if I go 1/4 inch, but if I have a washer on there, so I'm going to go about 325 thousandths. That'll give me just enough room that it will clear. So it'll actually sit down inside just a little bit. Okay, we're going to go with that, 325 thousandths. Okay, just a little bit further. Okay, we're there. That wall is a little bit thin, but you know, it's just a handle. Our socket fits in there so we can tighten the bolt down. So that's what I was shooting for. Okay, so now I'm going to run my stock out and I'm going to get my live center on, and then I'm going to go ahead and just take the mill scale off. I'm going to have to turn my tool here so that I can reach in here. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and knurl this. So I'm going to knurl it, and I want to do kind of a cool design on it, and then I'm going to have to flip it over, and I actually want to taper one end. So we'll go ahead and knurl now. So because we're knurling, we want to square our tool post here. So we're going to take and put our knurling tool in. So there's our knurling tool. And then I always like to check and make sure it's dead center, and that's why you check, because it's not. So you can start the lathe and then you slowly want to bring it in, and then if you watch both wheels, they should start spinning at the exact same time. That's how you know you're centered. Okay, so the only one spinning was the bottom, so I need to drop it down a little. Okay, so I went too far. Okay, so that's just the bottom. Bottom. Okay, that's pretty dang close. Okay, I'm going to call that good. So now you can see I've made a mark there. You're not going to be able to tell here in a minute. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to turn the lathe down. On my feed screw, I want to turn my feed speed up. Okay, so that's up. So then what you want to do, you want to oil this up. I take my cutting oil and I make sure I oil this up good. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm to the end, and then I'm going to go in until it's making marks. Make sure it's tight, and then you want to engage it. And then it's going to walk its way down, and it's going to put the knurling marks in the steel. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the lathe. I'm not going to take it out of gear. Okay, so that's giving us a very fine pattern, which I'm okay with. I'm going to drive my cross feed in a little bit more so it's tight, and then I'm going to run it back. So then you just go back and forth. And the more you go back and forth, the deeper your cross hatches and your pattern will be. So again, I'm just going to stop the machine. I'm not going to take it out of gear. Okay, that looks pretty good. Feels good. It's got a good finish. I'm going to go one more pass. Okay, so here's what happened. You can see it's a lot more fine here than from here on. So what happened is I noticed that my live center wasn't driven in all the way. See, it's still not. It keeps moving on me. And that's because you're putting so much pressure on it that it's either slipping in the chuck or it's pushing this. So I am going to retighten the live center and then try to take one more pass. I think I'm going to call that good. I'm going to show you guys how different this looks once you clean it up. So basically the tool is just pressing into the steel, and that's how you end up with the knurling. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's going to be the finished product for the knurling. I don't profess to be a knurling expert, but from what I have done, that's what I know about how to knurl. And it's worked out well for me so far. You can see that, you know, there are complications at times, but the final product is something that I have been typically pretty happy with. So, all right, let's. I'm gonna get my grooving tool in now, and I want to put some grooves in this just to give it some pop, just give it a design, and I think it helps a little bit with the grip too. So I'm gonna swap these tools out. And we'll go from there. There's my grooving tool. Going to re-square our tool post because obviously it has moved since we've knurled. Now I'm going to take measurement. I know that my handle is going to be about 3.5 inches long, so that's 3.5. So I think I want to do, I'm going to come off of here 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. We will have a taper down here. I think that's how I want to do it. Should land just about right. Okay, so all I want to do there is just take the knurling off. I don't want to cause a sharp edge to cut your hand on. So all that is just taking the knurling off. Okay, so now I'm going to go another 3/4 from that. Need to go a little more on that one. Okay, one more. Okay, this will be the last one. Okay, I like that. I think we're ready to part it off. So we'll part it off, and then I can flip it over cut the taper, and it's done. So I am going to chamfer this back corner because that's a pretty sharp corner. So I'm going to chamfer that real quick. I know there's an easier way to do this, and I have a DRO, but I'm in the process of trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with it. So for what I'm doing here, this is going to work. So I'm just going to cut a little groove where I know I need to part it off. And then I'll grab my parting tool. So that got us right to the end of our hole. You can see how close that was. So I may have to just run the drill bit in there real quick. I'm going to face this off real quick. So now we need to do our taper. I'm going to have to do some calculations and figure out what size I want here on the OD and figure out what angle I want to make that hit about right here. So I got to do some math. Okay, so I fixed this. I had to flip the compound around. Okay, so we're going to tighten it down there. Now we're going to flip this around. Okay, so then we're just going to go ahead and run our compound out. We're just going to start taking a cut. And we're going to go in with our cross feed, take another cut. Okay, so I think I've maybe changed my tune here. I actually like the way that looks because the gap is the same on all those. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to change the angle, and I'm going to have to start here and run it back. So I'm going to make this angle a little bit steeper. I'll have to change my angle and just run it, but I don't want to go past here and take any more knurling out because I like where that is. It's about the same distance as these gaps are. So I'm going to steepen the angle so that I can get to 1/8 of an inch here, but I don't want to go any further here. Hopefully that makes sense. It'll make more sense once you guys see what I'm doing. Let's try that. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's try it. See, if I start at this end and then just work my way that way, then I won't have to go, I won't have to guess how far I need to go. I can just gradually work my way. I think it's gonna work. About what I was looking for. Now we're just gonna polish it up. Okay, one thing I do want to do is chamfer this hole. It's got a burr on the inside of it. So I'm going to take a countersink bit and just chamfer that. So since I don't have a countersink bit set, I'm going to use a big drill bit and just touch off right there and just knock that burr on the inside off. Okay, so that'll get you by if you don't have a countersink bit, but I think that turned out pretty good. All that's left to do now is go over and install it. I did pick up a 4.5 inch 3/8 bolt on the way home from work, so let's go over to the bandsaw and see if we can't get it installed. Okay, so I did end up getting the right size bolt originally, but what I've done is I've cut 1/2 inch off. It was sticking out too far, and there's an angle on the back side of this that probably wouldn't have worked real well with a nut. So here's what I have decided to do. This bolt has a metric washer on it because it fits down in the countersink better. Put it down in there, fits real nice. And then I'm going to screw it in. And then it's actually going to bottom out on the threads. So I'm just going to snug that up. There's still 10 or 20 thou, probably 20 thou of slop there, so it will still spin. And on the back side, I'm not going to worry about anything. So it fits up nice. That's going to work just fine. If you look here, just barely any slop. Pretty happy with it. It's exactly what we wanted. It's perfect size for when you want to just quickly spin that. It used to take a lot longer to have to sit and do this because there was no handle. So that's a lot nicer. And then when I get there, just snug it down. Okay. You know, this is one of the cool things about, I guess I shouldn't say cool, but it's kind of one of the things that I enjoy about buying a piece of equipment like this that maybe hasn't been taken care of the way it should have. I can take something like that, build a new one, and it's honestly, that's better than what you're going to get if you were to buy this machine brand new. It's custom, it looks cool, it's just kind of fun to take something like this and make it better and make it functional. You know, you buy a piece of equipment like this that's been used secondhand, you pay half the price or less of a brand new one, and then if you've got some skills, you can take and modify it and improve it, and then you end up with a nice piece of equipment in the end. So I've done that with quite a few things in the shop, and it's worked really well for me because I can't really afford to go buy brand new equipment. So that's just a pointer that I have for you guys. If you could afford to buy maybe a less expensive piece of equipment that needs a little bit of work, and you're willing to put the work in and the time to fix it, that's honestly what's built my shop. So anyway, that's gonna wrap this one up. I appreciate you guys watching, and I just want to take a minute and say how grateful I am and humbled I am that there's actually 283 subscribers, I think we're up to now. I'm just humbled and grateful that there's that many people that want to watch our channel. So we're super grateful, and we just want to thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you share, and hit that bell so that you get notified when we come out with a new video. So thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.